So Joe Rogan is really all over the place politically. You know, depending on the day, depending on who he's talking to, he'll give you something that is at a far right field and far left field. And so the other day, what did I see the other day? There was something, he said something about Carrie Lake and voter fraud where I was like, ugh. You know, Carrie Lake has been slapped down in like 1 million court cases in Arizona because she kept trying to prove that there was voter fraud and that's why she lost or whatever. And she was laughed out of town in many instances, even by Republican judges, just like with Trump and the 60 court cases, because it's not true. It's not true. And we're going to do a story tomorrow where Carrie Lake is still to this day saying decertify Joe Biden and put Trump in now. Like pretend Trump won in 2020 today, now. Just like really, you know, cuckoo stuff. And Joe made some comment about that where I was like, ugh. But every now and then, you know, his normie instinct, that's who he is. He's Joe Rogan. He's like the average Joe, minus the fact that he's a gazillionaire, of course. But like his normie instinct will kick in and it'll piss off all of the right-wingers in his audience and some right-wing commentators. So this is a great example of it right here. So you guys remember the story of Bud Light, how they did an ad featuring a trans person, Dylan Mulvaney. They sent her like a can that had a picture of her face on it or whatever, and it was this thing, and the right absolutely lost their damn minds over it and acted like it was, you know, an attack on women, and it was egregious, and they boycotted Bud Light, and they were super outraged. And I mean, look, the best story I could keep going back to when having conversations about stuff like this is there's a chocolate company that a year or two ago we learned uses literal slave labor. Like the Supreme Court heard a case on it and was like, what are you going to do? If there is slavery, it's like 4 or 5 layers down the chain and removed. I don't know what you want us to do about it, so it is what it is. And you didn't hear any right-wing outcry over that. They didn't boycott the chocolate company. I think it was Nestle. They were just like, yeah, this, you know, nobody said a word about it. It's standard operating procedure. Yeah, okay, so we use slave labor. What are you going to do? But then there was some, like, woke chocolate scandal a year later. I don't know if it was like the M&Ms are not sexy anymore or whatever. And the Daily Wire boycotted a chocolate company and started making their own chocolate. So they don't care about literal slave labor, but they do care if the M&Ms are no longer fuckable. I mean, it's beyond parody, right? So this is an instance where Joe's normie instinct kicked in on the Bud Light thing. And he's like, basically, he's against who's ever making the most noise. And so if it's the right-wingers who are loud and aggressive and boycotting and making the most noise, he's like, shut up, you're being silly. If it's the left-wingers who are boycotting, being loud, making a lot of noise, he's like, shut up, you're silly. But now he ignited a firestorm. Megyn Kelly decided to attack him over the most banal thing I've ever seen in my life. Let's watch.
You mentioned Bud Light earlier, and I am with you on that whole thing, and I'm enjoying watching them suffer. I'm not going to lie. Now we've heard, we knew anecdotally that the sales were down. You know, we'd been hearing about distributors struggling and, you know, bar owners saying they can't sell it. And then we'd heard, oh, it's down 23%, it's down 28% this quarter. Just the month ending July 15th, the Bud Light sales were down 26.5%. Turns out from April to June, the second quarter, they lost almost $400 million in sales, $390 million. And Anheuser-Busch correctly said it was because of Bud Light, that they blamed the volume decline in Bud Light. You know, people saying it's done and it's not coming back, that these bartenders and people who deal in the liquor industry saying it's over, it's not rehabilitatable. And yet, look at this, Joe Rogan on the wrong side on this one, popping open a Bud Light, dismissing the whole controversy. This is the second time he's done this. Watch this.
And we're drinking Bud Lights, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
We're fucked.
There's nothing wrong with it. People are so... Cheers, sir.
Cheers, brother.
People are so silly. We were just talking about how silly it is. One person made a really stupid decision, and now everybody's decided that Bud Light is the enemy.
Not getting it.
Wrong.
They're so outraged. They're so like, oh, how dare you, sir? You drank a Bud Light? Oh my God, I need to see that again. Show me your faces.
And now everybody's decided that Bud Light is the enemy.
Not getting it.
Wrong.
He's totally
Go ahead.
wrong. Yeah, this is, as I said before, this is one of the cracks in the ice I'm seeing in the culture. The fact the right has, the right, the conservatives, they're like wrangling cats. Everyone has a different philosophy. Everyone has a different leader.
Literally nobody says that about conservatives. People always say that about the left. The left is like herding cats because everybody definitely has a slightly different flavor, variety, or variation on their ideology, and the left is full of anybody from like resistance liberal to like Marxist Leninist to like social democrat to libertarian socialist to, normie grandma who just doesn't like Republicans. Like, that's the left. The right is in lockstep almost all the time. I mean, now we've seen, some cracks begin to show with like Daily Wire versus Steven Crowder and Trump versus DeSantis, but they're pretty damn united. They're certainly united on their love of Donald Trump. He's destroying everybody in the primary. That's crystal clear. And they're certainly united on goofy stuff like this. Like, it's an outrage that Bud Light had a trans person in an ad.
Get together on anything, and they never take action because they are natural pessimists. So they always think it's over, the country's finished, there's no coming back. Just give me my Bud Light and shut up.
This guy's literally describing the left as he pretends like he's describing the right. You want to talk about natural pessimists? You want to talk about nihilists and doomerists? Homie, have you peeked under the hood of the left? It's a battle we fight here every single day. Like, no, I promise, it's okay. You can get up out of bed in the morning. I swear. Okay, no, it's okay. You can actually go and vote in an election. That doesn't mean that you've morphed into, a historically evil character. Hey, it's all right. This is the left. The right never does this stuff, ever.
No, this time they spotted this. They've spotted this transgender movement as an attack on femininity, an attack on femaleness, which is exactly what it is.
The transgender movement is an attack on femininity, an attack on femaleness. Why can't some people just be trans? That's like saying homosexuality is an attack on heterosexuality. Being gay is an attack on those who are straight. No, it's not. I'm straight. I've never for 1 second felt under attack by the gays. What the hell, man? These people are so obsessed with this issue. It's ridiculous.
They've spotted this transgender movement as an attack on femininity, an attack on femaleness, which is exactly what it is. It's an attempt to destroy the very existence of women, the very fact.
Oh, come on. Because Bud Light did an ad with the trans people. It's an effort to get rid of women? Am I hearing that properly? Let's listen again.
Which is exactly what it is. It's an attempt to destroy the very existence of women,
It's an attempt to destroy the very existence of women. Are you out of your goddamn mind? Put down the crack pipe. Jesus Christ. So what's the argument? Like, what is the argument? So if you allow people who are trans to be trans, what? It's like the slippery slope, and eventually everybody's gonna be trans. And all the biological males will become females, and all the biological females will become males. Is that the idea? God, this is what when Jordan Peterson and I debated this is what I asked him. I was like, in your conception of things, how slippery is this slippery slope? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Are we going to wake up one day and like 53% of the public is going to be trans? Do you seriously believe that? You can't believe that.
Fact that women are a thing, and men and women are different, and there are, in fact, no people. There are only men and women, and there are only two kinds of people.
It's also a fact that trans people exist. Why would you pretend like that's not true? Why would you act like that's not true? Yes, there are people who are born biologically male, and their gender is male too. There are people who are born biologically female, and their gender is female too. That makes up the majority of people. Nobody is disputing that. But there are also people who are born biologically male, and they are female gender. They have this thing called gender dysphoria, where effectively they feel like they are in the wrong body. The reason why I say that is because it is obvious it exists. There is a tremendous amount of historical evidence to point to that conclusion. Why do you just want to pretend? What is it about the people who want to pretend like that can't be a thing? It's not real. That's like what? That's like seeing that there are people, that there are men who like other men and just being like, but men and women have sex. Okay, yeah, in most cases they're heterosexual. Of course, yeah, but there's also men who like men, and there's also women who like women. But there's the men are supposed to like the women. That's how it works. Okay, yeah, in most cases that is how it works, but there's some people where it's not that. It's of the same, they're attracted to the same sex, but the men are supposed to like the women are supposed to like the men. What are you, a child? You can't acknowledge the existence of some basic concept simply because you think it's degeneracy, because you don't agree with it or whatever? Oh, my God.
The very existence of women, the very fact that women are a thing and men and women are different, and there are, in fact, no people, there are only men and women, and there are only two kinds of people.
Even in a literal sense, that's untrue, right? There are people who are born intersex. Now, it is a phenomenally tiny percentage of the population, but he just wants to gloss over that. Or what he wants to say is, well, yeah, they're born intersex, but they're either male or female effectively, internally. But when you admit that, you also admit to the fundamental underlying logic of trans people existing. So let's say somebody's born intersex, and the doctor decides, we're going to make this person male at birth. And they do. But then that person feels from a very young age, actually, I think I'm female. It's very weird. I feel like I'm in the wrong body. Well, there you have it. There's one explanation for one trans person who could exist. Now, this guy would turn around and deny. No, you should be forced to live as a male the rest of your life. Why would you think about this as much as you do? This is what I don't understand. Why would you think about this as much as you do? Who cares? Who cares? And that effectively, in this conversation, that is Rogan's position. Yeah, I like Bud Light. Who cares? They had one ad with one trans person. Whoop-de-frickin-do. He's like, how dare you, good sir? We're supposed to throw out all of the Bud Light and burn it in effigy. Like how, God, these people are so weird. It's so niche, but they act like it's so mainstream. It is not mainstream. Whatever this blip on the radar is where they're down 24% or whatever, it'll bounce back. It always does. We've seen this. How many times has the right or the left tried to boycott a giant corporation, and it's just ultimately the giant corporation ends up winning? Because in America, the giant corporations always win. Now, I'd like to fight back against the giant corporations, but I'd like to do it in this sense. Hey, make them pay higher taxes so we give people health care. Hey, make them pay higher wages to their workers so they're not also depending on government programs because their freaking boss doesn't pay them enough. That's how I want to fight back against them. How does this guy want to fight corporations? Stop acknowledging that trans people exist. How dare you?
They spotted it, and they spotted it on their beer. This is the beer of the working class guy. This is the beer, you know, that you kick back. When you kick back and have a beer, it used to be a Bud Light.
But that's exactly the point now, isn't it? You think this one thing is going to change that forever? No, look, eventually we'll get to a point where people think of trans people in the same way we now think of gay people, which is like, duh. Some people are gay, some people are trans, nobody cares. It's all about who are you as an individual? Are you likable as an individual? Okay, great. I love you. And Joe is kind of trying to embody this exact thing he's laying out here. Like, this is the beer of the average Joe. It's like, yeah, he kind of is the average Joe, other than the fact that he's a gazillionaire, of course. But his normie instinct of like all over the place politically, etc. Like, this is the dude who's like, yeah, I heard all your noise about Bud Light. I don't agree. I don't care. I don't care.
Here in America, it's now not even in the top 10. It's important.
I would like a fact check on that one. It was the #1 beer in America. Now it's not in the top 10. By the way, Crystal told me a really funny fact in the beginning of this boycott that the right was doing. It was something like, I'm going to butcher the specifics here, but it was something like, so a lot of conservatives stopped getting Bud Light, but they went to go get another beer, and it jumped up in the ratings. But that other beer was also made by the company Anheuser-Busch. So they didn't realize that, like, we're going to fight this company by buying another different product they make. Too perfect.
Little signs, and they are little signs, but they're important of a shift in perception on the right.
Yeah. The shift in perception on the right is we're going to be whiny little crusading anti-social justice warriors who are just as petty and authoritarian as the people on the left who we criticize for a long time. That's the shift on the right. That's the shift. Because even somebody who agrees with a lot of conservative politics on certain issues, he's like, yeah, I'm going to drink a Bud Light. You're like whiny fundamentalist insistence to act like this is wrong. Says everything any normal person needs to know about you and the goofiness of your so-called movement. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.